So, what stood out to me yesterday in the Miami Celtics game was the Celtics didn't come out ready to play defensively. There are a handful of possessions where in the first quarter, they're missing assignments, they're blowing rotations, and they're giving up a lot of really good open looks to Caleb Martin, Max Strus, and then we saw Duncan Robinson get going for Miami. Now, Miami as a team yesterday shot 46% from three-point range, taking 30 attempts total, almost making half of them. The Celtics, on the other hand, shot 20% from deep. And in today's day and age, when you outscore a team by 21 points beyond the three-point line, you're most likely going to win. Unless you shoot 2 of 15 on floaters and 14 of 35 at the rim. And yesterday, I don't know what happened necessarily. Why was Jimmy Butler tanking so many layups? Was it Boston just defending him so well? Was it him missing some gimmies? I felt like it was a combination of both. Butler's a player that wants to draw fouls, and I felt like yesterday he was just trying to foul hunt, especially late in the fourth quarter. And there are a handful of possessions where he doesn't get the call, he misses, and then the Celtics turn a miss into transitional offense. There's a play, I believe, in the second half. He takes a three-pointer. Al Horford closely contests. He doesn't get the foul, but he falls to the floor. Meanwhile, Al Horford off the rebound is sprinting in transition for an easy 2 points. And throughout the game, it felt like every time the Heat tried to make a little bit of a comeback, especially in the third and fourth quarter, the Celtics had the answer. Derek White was shutting down Jimmy Butler in isolation. I did not think I'd be saying that, but yesterday Butler was 0 of 6 on him. He had the great block in the third quarter. There was another possession, and I believe the first quarter, where Butler gets the switch on the Derek White. He attacks going right, but then Jason Tatum steps up and help. He forces Butler to kick out to the corner. Gabe Vincent catches it in the corner off the catch, but Marcus Smart closes out, taking away a pass to Max Strus coming off a ball screen, forcing Gabe Vincent and then drive baseline. Vincent goes baseline, and Jimmy's initial min, the switch, which was Derek White, then contests and uses the laws of verticality to defend Gabe Vincent, who was a pitiful 2 of 9 at the rim. It just felt like Miami couldn't make a single shot at the rim, except for Kyle Lowry's ridiculous flip shot in the fourth quarter that remarkably won it at the end of the shot clock. Look, I don't know how else you say it, but this felt like a gut wrencher for the Heat, and I don't know how you emotionally come back from this. Does it feel a little bit like that Hawks playing game to you, Brandon? What's going on? Do you think that they can respond to the way the Celtics delivered? And we'll talk about the ending, but I want to lead up to that before. And I'm sorry if you can hear the car revving up in the background. I'm not sure if you can.
I can't hear it. No, it doesn't feel like the Hawks game. That one was just I had no more belief. But now this game is, I mean, it's a similar feeling where your heart gets snatched from your chest. This one obviously is much more amplified because it's game 6. You're up 3-0 and everything that led up to it. But no, it's a little different because at least we have the entire playoff run where we can look back on and say, okay, there's a recipe for success. We've done it. It's there. It's possible to be had. The Hawks one was just, we were playing pretty crap in the regular season in its totality. I know we started to shoot pretty well after the All-Star break, but for its totality, we played pretty poorly, all things considered. And yeah, because I this one is, there's still, like, obviously, I don't know what do you want to get into right now? Do you want to get into? I want to talk about what happened because you said, I'll say this, right? In the first quarter, right out of the gate, the effort that I saw was 10 times what I saw in games 4 and 5 from Miami's side. So that was a great sign to see right out of the gate. I saw great effort from my guys. But we limited turnovers in the first half. You mentioned Kyle Lowry's layup that that one was he willed that ball in. But in the first half, I thought defensively he was playing good. He's always making some pretty key plays, whether it be swiping at the ball and getting a steal or a loose ball or whatever, drawing a foul. Offensively, though, he was playing just sometimes you can play too hard. And I think that's what Kyle was doing offensively. He was pressing too much. And we've seen that in this series where you go back and look at game 5 in the first quarter, he driving and he jumps up in the air, a Russell Westbrook special. You jump up in the air, you don't know what to do with the ball, and you end up just throwing it. And that's
over penetrating.
Yeah, those are killers. You cannot have that, especially from a veteran player like Kyle Lowry. You can't be having that. But I spoke on, I spoke on vaguely of what, the players that didn't play well. I want to just shout out the others, Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, Strus, even though, he didn't make a bad play on the ball. He did what the assignment was supposed to be. Yeah, Duncan Robinson. The others played very well. Right, they carried basically the entire game, and that is Heat culture at its best. There's no other way to. These guys are just balling out of their mind. They're playing better than what they should be playing. Shout out Gabe Vincent. Shout out Caleb Martin, especially Caleb Martin. I mean, I love that kid. Thank God we have him on another year contract. Then he's got a player option. He's probably going to leave after that and get a big contract. But thank God we still got him. I tweeted somewhere, I think in the third quarter of the game, the effort and energy Gabe Vincent is giving, I need to be seeing that from Jimmy Butler, and I was not seeing that up until that point. But Bam Adebayo, I want to speak on Bam. While he didn't shoot well at all, he shot terribly throughout the entire game. Well, early he made a couple of good shots, but throughout the game, he just couldn't find it. He did give great effort on both sides of the ball, defensively and offensively. So I want to commend him for that. It just wasn't his night shooting the ball. They were just not going in. And in terms of Jimmy, it's inexplainable. For me, it just came down to, I think he was thinking too much. He was in his own head. He was pressing. He was putting too much pressure on himself. I don't know. I think he was in his own head and he couldn't get out. He was being too passive. He wasn't attacking. And even when he was attacking, he was doing the pump fakes. They weren't falling for it. So you would think, like, after a while, you would think Jimmy would be like, all right, they're not falling for the pump fake, so let me just go straight up right out of the gate because they're not expecting me to go up. They're expecting me to pump fake at least once or twice. So now you just go up. It's kind of like when you have in football, when you got a team and you're running. Now you got them on their feet, their toes. You can run a play action or you can run the ball and you don't know what they're doing. Yeah. It's the same thing. I don't know why he wasn't picking up on that, but he was settling too much for the threes. I despise that so much. I want Jimmy taking maximum like 2 threes per game. And you can make I don't care if he's making them though, because we know that's not what he is. We know he's settling because they're going under the screen. They're forcing him to shoot it. There's a reason they're forcing you to shoot it. It's because you're a subpar shooter from the 3-point line. Jimmy is going in game 7. Jimmy is going to have a playoff Jimmy game. All right. Or all the noise is going to come and it's going to be pretty warranted. I'm not going to be able to defend it. You can't really bring up the ankle injury at this point in time. Yeah, you can't. He had a 29-point game in game 4 when we got blown out, but he didn't shoot particularly well, and it wasn't a great game. He's pretty much had 3 stinkers, albeit he had the 29 points, didn't have an impact on the game. We got blown out. So he really has had, I think, 4 bad games, actually. I don't think he's made double-digit field goals since game 2, if I'm not mistaken. It's time. Like, it's time. Like, you so many times throughout that game, John, in game 6, did I see Bam Adebayo not guarded by Rob Williams and Al Horford. Mm-hmm. And why we did not get him the ball immediately, I don't know why. So many times, but not so many times, a couple of different times I saw Jimmy Butler being guarded by Derek White, and I know you spoke on the Derek White block, but still, he shouldn't be able to guard Jimmy Butler. Just real, like, Jimmy Butler should be able to get what he wants. Like, if that's Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum, like, or even Marcus Smart, I got you. But Derek White, Jimmy Butler should be able to win that matchup 8 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10. I got to be honest. I understand he's a good defender, but size-wise and skill level-wise, Jimmy should be able to be taking advantage of that matchup, and he did not. So it was one of those nights where the layups weren't falling for Jimmy, similar to what we saw in the Atlanta Hawks game. When those nights happen, you know you're in for a pretty bad night. He was able to get to the free throw line. I know you talked about, he was trying to get that foul, really baiting like James Harden does, and I despise that. But the reason he was doing is because he was having trouble shooting the ball, and he wanted to just see the ball go in. And there was a. You spoke on the Celtics didn't shoot particularly well from three, and they didn't. We've seen a lot of crazy shit in this series, whether it be Miami blowing them out, the Celtics blowing Miami out, close games. We saw in game 3, John, the Celtics won the rebound battle by 22 boards, and they lost by a blowout. We don't see that. Like, this series has been flabbergasting. There's no other word to describe it. So for game 7, I honestly can say this. This is what I know for a fact in game 7. Anybody who's saying they know what's going to happen in game 7 has not been watching this series. I have no idea what's going to happen in game 7. I literally don't. Okay, because I don't know what's going to happen, because you would think Jimmy and Bam aren't going to have another bad game like they did last night. But you'd also think Jason Tatum's not going to go 0 for 8 from 3. Jaylen Brown's not going to go 0 for 4 from 3. But you'd also think Marcus Smart's going to come back to earth a little bit and not have back-to-back 3 back-to-back 20-point games. You'd think, right? You'd think Grant Williams is not going to have an 0 for game. Like, there's so many factors into this game. Boston been struggling at home. Miami winning 2 games at home. In Boston, I should say. We don't know what the hell is going to happen in game 7.
It feels like these two teams have like reversed roles. The Celtics early on in the series were very predictable, and they didn't keep moving the ball. They're kind of feeding into the Heat's traps, and they're over-penetrating. Now Miami's over-penetrating. They're challenging Robert Williams at the rim, which Gabe Vincent, please stop doing that. But if you drive baseline, instead of trying to challenge a 7-footer who's going to stuff your shit, swing the ball. Keep it moving. Because I can't watch him go 2 of 10 at the rim. That's one thing. The problem is Jimmy Butler's not adding anything from a shot-making perspective. And it reminds me a lot of last postseason where he suffers a knee injury, which wasn't really talked about. It was knee inflammation. And then all of a sudden in games 3, he played 19 minutes in game 3. Game 4, he goes 3 of 14. Clearly wasn't right. Game 5, he has a 4 of 18 game. He's negative 15. The Heat lost both of those games that he finished. But then in game 6, Jimmy Butler drops 47, and his knee's not blown up into a soccer ball. With a game 7, 35-point performance, he was dead at the end. He also got to the foul line a bunch in those games. He's just got to be able to hit shots at the rim, and I'm confident he will. But this series, the problem that we like to do as NBA fans, we like to really over-dramatize what happened. So the Celtics blow a 3-0 lead. All the narratives are how, oh my God, the Miami Heat aren't this good of a team. They're blowing it. And I don't think we give enough credit for the Boston Celtics. Last 2 years, they're 8-1 in elimination games. The only one they won or lost was versus the Warriors in the finals. Their defense has been phenomenal. They've been connected, they've been playing together, and they haven't made many mistakes rotationally. They did in the first quarter, but then they started to clear that up in the fourth when it mattered most. They made big-time plays. Now, I did feel like Al Horford yesterday almost held him the game multiple times. He had multiple fouls in Jimmy Butler, which were kind of weak. If you're going to foul him at the rim, foul him hard so he's not going to still get the N1 opportunity. And then with 3 seconds left in the game, let's talk about it. Jimmy Butler, ISO's the top of the key, 12 seconds, dribbles to the corner. If Jimmy's going to beat you on a turnaround corner 3 to end your season, shit, that's how I'm going out, right? I'll let you do that. I'm not going to foul Jimmy Butler and send him to the line. Now, on that play, he did double dribble. The rest didn't call it. But what did happen was Joe Mazzulla questioned. He challenged. That's a I think the challenge itself, Brandon, was it wasn't a foul, right?
The challenge was that it wasn't a shooting foul.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the challenge. Yeah, you
And then
can't.
what
I don't
happened
think you
was
can. You can't challenge a double dribble. I don't.
no, you can't. And then what happened was upon the review, which they still would have checked anyways, it was a 3-point shot. Jimmy Butler, biggest three throws in his 13-year NBA career, goes up to the line, cans the first, same exact spot in the second, and makes the third.
But like before we go on to the other side of what happened, right?
So the NBA puts 3 seconds on the clock, adding 0.9 seconds, and the Celtics inbound the ball. Derek White's inbounding. The number one look is Jason Tatum. Max Strus turns his back to the ball. He fronts Tatum, denying the pass. What happens? Derek White instead kicks it, hits it to Marcus Smart. Smart steps back from 3-point range. White spots up the inbounder, doesn't get the pass. Then the moment Marcus Smart shoots it, beelines to the rim. And we could talk about many different reasons the Miami Heat lost this game. What was very uncharacteristic was watching everybody on the floor watch the ball not go in, and none of them went for it. Not only did Jimmy Butler watch, so did Caleb Martin, as Jason Tatum on the right wing goes right by each of them. Of course, there's 2 seconds left in the game. Nobody thinks there's going to be time remaining. Marcus Smart gets the shot off with 2.4 seconds left. Derek White gets the rebound. By the way, uncovered because not Marcus Smart, Max Strus is run right behind him. He's not going to catch up. And with a 10th of a second left, has the second buzzer beater and elimination game in NBA playoff history where we didn't know if it counted. And it did.
Yeah,
It did.